Hey friends, Matt Lyle's back in the office again with the latest edition of Matt's Motivational Minutes videos, where we give you faith, wisdom, and life experiences in just 5 minutes or less. Now, today's video is entitled Stay Saturated. Now you may wonder, why is it entitled Stay Saturated? Well, let me tell you, friend. So think of this as a sponge here, right? So when does a sponge operate at its best? When it's wet or when it's dry? Guessing your answer is when it's wet, and that's the correct answer. So imagine that sponge lives out its purpose, right? To clean dishes. You fill it with the water, you fill it with the soap, and then it gets the dishes clean. And sometimes it takes a little more effort, but we get them dishes clean and the world around it, right? Have you ever tried to clean dishes with a dry sponge? It doesn't work. Have you ever filled that sponge with dirt and mud and then tried to clean the dishes? It doesn't serve its purpose very well, does it? Makes the dishes dirty around it, doesn't it? So now let's take that a step deeper. Imagine that you are that sponge. And what you fill that sponge with is what you pour out around you, right? So think now. When you fill that sponge, it may stay saturated, but it doesn't pour out until you squeeze it and you wring it and you push on it, right? Then whatever on the inside of the sponge pours out. So again, imagine that sponge is you. What are you filling your sponge with? Are you filling your sponge with things that are negative, with dirty things? Are you filling them with dirty thoughts? Are you filling them with fear? Are you filling your sponge with anxiety? Are you filling it with bitterness? Are you filling it with gossip? Are you filling it with things that don't profit you? Because imagine, when you fill yourself with those things, when you get wrung out, two things happen. You make other people dirty. You make other people filled with fear and anxiety and paranoia and negativity and bitterness and anger and slander, and you drive them away. Now imagine you take that sponge, and for me, I fill it with my faith. I fill it with the Holy Spirit, the third person of the Trinity. And when I'm filled to overflowing, and then I get wrung out, what do I pour out to the world around me? We pour out God's love. We pour out His grace. We pour out His mercy. We pour out kindness, gentleness, meekness. We pour out even boldness. We pour out things that have two effects. It draws people to us, which if we're looking like Jesus, and we're looking like God, it draws people to Him, and we make other people that way too. It's contagious, right? So how do we get wrung out and pressed? In the book of 2 Corinthians chapter 4, verse 8, the Apostle Paul talks about being hard-pressed on every side, afflicted, but not crushed. So imagine that sponge is you again, still friend. That sponge is pretty resilient. It gets wrung out, it gets pushed, it gets all that, and you know what? That sponge doesn't break. So I got good news for you. Although we're in a time where we're getting hard-pressed on every side, where we're getting wrung out, where we're getting, right? You know what? What's inside you is going to come out. During that crisis time, we have no opportunity to be a phony. It's impossible. When you are in crisis mode and your back is against the wall, what's on the inside is going to come out. So what do you want poured out to the world around you? Do you want things that are negative, that are dirty, that are filthy, that will repel people? Or do you want positive things? You want to be filled with God's love. All you have to do is ask Him. And say, Jesus, you died for me. I want to be filled with your love and your grace, so I can pour that out to the world around me. So I can pour out things that attract people to you and attract people to me. So the time now is for you to be saturated, friend. What are you going to be saturated with?
Power on.
Fear and anxiety? Slander? Gossip? Bitterness? Do you want bitterness out of your sponge? Or do you want love, compassion, kindness, gentleness, things that will attract the world to you and ultimately to God? I challenge you today, friend. Keep your sponge saturated with things from above and not things around. I hope this video has blessed you and encouraged you. And if you want more videos like this, stay tuned to our Facebook page, Message by Massage, where I'll try to post something every week just for you. You stay safe, God bless, and stay saturated.